Hello, good day everyone. We are the third year student from Northern Bukidnon State College, taking Bachelor in Secondary Education, major in English. So I am Jumaline Gracie Tamarian together with.
My name is Marjorie Pitalcorin, and we are here to discuss about authentic assessment of affective domain. So to begin, I would like to ask some questions to Ms. Jomeline that she needs to answer. Okay, so the first question is, what are some examples of authentic assessment tools for the affective domain?
Okay, several authentic assessment tools for the affective domain includes self-assessment rubrics, observational checklist, reflective journal, peer and self-evaluations, case study with ethical dilemmas, interviews and oral presentations, portfolios, skills and survey, narrative assessment, group discussions, role plays, and more. So these strategies aid in the capture of students' attitudes, values, and emotions in real life situation. So the goal is to promote self-awareness, personal growth, and the development of important characteristics such as empathy, ethics, and interpersonal skills.
Next question is, why is it essential to distinguish between quantitative and qualitative data when interpreting performance assessment in the affective domain?
So when interpreting performance assessment in the affective domain, it is critical to distinguish between quantitative and qualitative data because quantitative data, such as scale and survey scores, provide numerical insights, whereas qualitative data, such as narratives, descriptions, and anecdotal records, provide more context and deep in understanding students' emotional and social development. It also aids in capturing the confusion and subjectivity of attitudes, beliefs, values, and emotions. So educators and researchers can acquire a more comprehensive and knowledge of individual affective development and personal progress by using both types of data.
Okay, so how would you compare data from different sources such as self-assessment, peer assessment, and teacher observations to identify patterns and trends in affective development?
In order to compare data from various sources in affective domain assessment, one must examine and detect consistency or inconsistencies in the information provided by self-assessment for evaluations and teachers' observations. So this comprehensive approach can inform future interventions and support methods by providing a well-rounded assessment of an individual's evolutions in the affective domain.
So we're down to the last two questions. What steps would you take to identify areas of strength and growth in students' affective competencies based on assessment data?
To discover areas of strength and progress in students' emotional competencies based on assessment data, a systematic analysis of the data should be performed, looking for consistent improvement and demonstrated strength in certain areas. So this study identifies areas where students thrive and can act as a role models for others.
So how can the interpretation of performance assessment data in affective domain be used to inform instructional adjustment and support students' affective development?
So I think by offering constructive feedback and concrete example of performance, the interpretations of performance assessment data in the affective domain can be used to inform changes in instructions and enhance students' affective growth. So based on these observations, educators can change their teaching techniques, establish centered interventions, and set improvement goals, ultimately strengthening students' emotional intelligence and social skills.
So for the last question, what strategies would you recommend for setting SMART goals with students to guide their implementation?
So, to assist students construct smart objectives for their growth in the domain based on assessment data, tactics such as collectively creating specific goals, ensuring they are accessible and achievable, relevant to their development, and time bound for tracking progress can be recommended as well. So, this method encourages students to take control of their emotional development and strive toward well defined goals. Okay, for the round two of our discussion, so I will be the one to ask Ms. Pitalcoren, and she will be going to answer my questions. So without further ado, let's start. So question number one, what are some examples of affective targets integral to authentic assessment in the affective domain?
Okay, so based on the information given, some examples of effective targets crucial to accurate assessment in the affective domain include attitudes, interests, motivation, values, self-concept, locus of control, self-efficacy, anxiety, creativity, and epistemological beliefs.
So next question, how do affective targets like attitudes, interest, motivation, values, and self-concept relate to the concept of authentic assessment in education?
So, since authentic assessment methods seek to document students' emotional and attitudinal reactions to their learning experiences, they are closely related to affective targets like attitudes and emotional and attitudinal requirements of their students by giving them insights into changes in attitude, interests, and motivations.
Okay. In what ways can authentic assessment methods be used to assess affective targets such as locus of control, self-efficiency, and anxiety?
When evaluating affective targets like locus of control, self efficacy, and anxiety, authentic assessment approaches, including self reflection and journaling, observations, and scenario based evaluations, can be used. Students can express their sense of control and self efficacy through self reflection and journals, and scenario based examinations can show how anxious they are and responds to particular circumstances, I mean.
So, how can the selection and development of appropriate affective assessment methods be influenced by factors like learning objectives, learning age, and cultural sensitivity?
Learning objectives, learner age, and cultural sensitivity are just a few of the variables that have an impact on the selection and development of acceptable affective assessment methods. According to the influence of important elements on assessment methods, learning objectives direct the alignment of assessment methods. Learner age defines the age appropriateness of methods, and cultural sensitivity guarantees that assessment are pertinent to the cultural backgrounds of the students.
Okay, we are down to the last two questions. So, why are emotional intelligence assessments, collaboration and teamwork assessments, and creativity and innovation assessments crucial in evaluating a student's holistic development?
Hmm. Because the gauge of abilities and skills required for success in the 21st century, test of emotional intelligence, collaboration and teamwork, and creativity and invention are critical in assessing a student's overall development. Um, in the modern workplace, collaboration and teamwork are crucial, while creativity and invention foster problem solving and flexibility. Evaluates the significance of the certain evaluation for holistic growth, and emotional intelligence promotes social and emotional well-being.
The last question is, what strategies would you like to recommend for educators to assess a student's resilience and adaptability effectively in the context of 21st century skills development?
Okay, in order to evaluate a student's resilience and adaptability in the context of developing 21st century skills, educators can suggest techniques like scenario-based assessments, which simulate difficult situations and gauge how students respond, highlighting their capacity to adapt and recover from setbacks.
Okay, I guess that's the end of our discussion. I am Jumeline Grace Cito Marian again.
And this is Marjorie Pitalcorin. I hope you have learned something from our discussion. Thank you
Thank you
for
for
watching.
watching.
Okay.